when you make that decision for yourself, when you know what direction you're headed and you understand like what season of your life are you in, then things start to kind of have a lot more clarity. You know, you decide, oh yeah, this is what I want to do in this phase. This is how I want to feel. This is maybe the type of direction or people I want to play in, maybe the type of business I want, business model, impact I want to do. Then I conspire to make it happen. In today's world online, customers and everybody expect personalized support on every channel and in every way. They want it like done right now. But the problem is most solutions out there don't allow that to happen. They're not delivering. So your customer service reps are struggling to stay productive. And your customers, honestly, just aren't as happy as they probably once were. Now's the time to change that. This is exactly why there's a new AI-powered service hub from HubSpot. The service hub actually allows you to bring this type of level of service and success together for the first time so you can deliver on the expectations that people are expecting. And actually, it's boosting revenue along the way. The reps that are using Service Hub from HubSpot right now are reporting 13 times faster to help them resolve tickets, and also it helps them close something like 42% more tickets per day. So that basically means that you're also retaining people at a much higher rate. They're saying more than 80%. Not only that, you're getting this full 360 view of your customers in this smart CRM that basically helps and supports you in the marketing, sales, and service delivery and success of your team, but also making the experience much better for your customer, which boosts your revenue and your business growth. Go and visit HubSpot.com/service to learn how this all-new solution can help you deliver for your customers. Hey, what's happening? Joe Fier here, and it's great to have you here. Thanks for watching, listening. And in this episode, I want to talk about a common theme that's been coming up in some previous episodes on this podcast, and talk about the way that I've been framing it for myself, but also how I've been learning from some experts. And that comes down to the power of deciding what you want. This goes in business, goes in life, and goes with everything. And Kira Palme, who I had on the podcast recently, is the previous episode to this one. I recommend checking out. And there's a quote that she brought up that has steered a lot of her life. And I'll tell about a brief of her story and how it leads to this whole thing of deciding what you want and then taking imperfect, massive action to start opening doors and to start knocking down the dominoes of life that make it feel flowy, that make it feel like it's for you and not like you're doing it for some other reason or for some other person. The quote that she gave on that podcast or on the episode was by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it goes like this. Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. This is how I break that down and how I will kind of break it down in a few steps here to take action on this quote, but also like how I think it really, really is true in a lot of ways. So once you make a decision, that is, we talk about like the North Star, like what's the big idea? Where are you trying to go? That can change through periods of your life, the seasons of your life, depending on how old you are, what your responsibilities are. You got relationships, you got kids, you got parents, you don't have parents, like all of these things shift what your decision could be, like when you make a decision or that North Star, the bigger, like let's say direction you want to go. It says, once you make a decision, then the universe conspires to make it happen. Universe, you could have any kind of label, universe, God, people, society, you, whatever it is. And maybe we talk about you because, you have the power to do this. So maybe instead of universe, you say like, you conspire to make it happen because, there's something when you make that decision for yourself, when you know what direction you're headed and you understand like what season of your life are you in, then things start to kind of have a lot more clarity. You decide, oh yeah, this is what I want to do in this phase. This is how I want to feel. This is maybe the type of direction or people I want to play in, maybe the type of business I want, business model, impact I want to do. Then I conspire to make it happen. Like, oh, I could start seeing how the dominoes are stacked, and then I just get to focus on the first one, then I know the second one. Like things start to kind of shape a little more. So let me put this in context. I'm going to talk about Kira's story just briefly, but essentially she got cancer at a very early age. I think it was late high school. And that sucks. Like, no one should have to experience cancer. And unfortunately, she got it at an early age. Well, fortunately, she used that as a reference to see how precious life is, but also the fact that she had power to not just sit on her butt, her ass, to, just literally stay there and mope or, get consumed by this thing, but she took action. And not everybody has the ability, I understand that, but she figured out what she could do and she progressed. And soon after that, she actually opened up a business of her own doing personal training. She talked about that and how that was incredibly helpful for her to build on what she wanted to put out there, and be useful. And I think that's one of the concepts we'll come back to. She ended up getting a bunch of parking tickets because of where she had to do this training kind of outweighed her earnings, which is, that was a decision in itself where it forced her more or less to then move to more this under the wing of a mentor of hers to get into marketing and media, podcasting. That led her to working for or with Tony Robbins and other awesome people. She opened a marketing agency eventually after that, held retreats for women in cool places around the country. That started working for Kartra. All of these things were like this domino series of events, but it really started back at the beginning of like, hey, this thing happened to me or to her, and she decided what to do in that situation. Life is going to have all sorts of stuff tossed at us that we can't control, can't predict everything. Sometimes we kind of can with awareness. The fact is that we get to choose in the moment how to decide what we want to do in our situation, and know that once we start to put action into place, once we start moving, and maybe that's building something, talking to people, it's planning stuff out, pen to paper, and then also putting stuff in action. It's getting out of just ourselves and something out into the world, like we now get to conspire to make it happen, There's a planning phase, which is kind of understanding where you want to go, understanding yourself, where you're at, your age, your responsibilities, all these things talked about. But then it's like, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to move forward and actually take action and be useful? So I want to talk about some steps here that I feel could be helpful, and then related to what I've been hearing in some of these. I've been talking with a lot of people on the podcast, of course. Recently just held a full-day mastermind workshop at Genius Network. That's Joe Polish's headquarters in Arizona, which was epic. It was a full day workshop from 9 to 6 p.m. with Mike Koenigs as well on everything AI and how to build media and brand and books and essentially scale what you're doing with AI. But outside of that, there were a bunch of talks on what it means to be useful and how you can be the most useful as a person in this world of AI, and a lot of changes where there's a lot of confusion. So it makes decision-making a little murky. A lot of us in business, it's going to change how we approach things, the roles that and the jobs more or less that we have, or the people on our team. So this is, again, a good point to figure out what is the thing you want. So, once you make the decision, what do you want? And then the universe conspires to make it happen. Back to that quote. What are you going to do? How are you going to be useful? And how are you, or the universe, how is it going to assist you to get what you want? I'm going to pause the episode really fast and shout out another show that's on the podcast network over at HubSpot. It's the audio destination for business professionals. This is Mistakes That Made Me. It's hosted by Iman Ismail. She is interviewing successful business owners and talking about, hey, what are those mistakes? What are the failures? What are the things that you hate to talk about that we can all learn from? I mean, let's be honest. Do you like to talk about your mistakes? Probably not. Well, that's what she's talking about. And it's going to be there. It is there waiting for you to listen so you can learn from those lessons and learn how to get past them or navigate around those big boulders on your own journey to success. So go listen to Mistakes That Made Me wherever you get your podcasts. If you're looking to unlock some more income and time freedom, then I want to tell you about Kartra. It's the ultimate all-in-one business platform for online success. Now with Kartra, you can create stunning pages and funnels, you can automate your marketing, launch online courses, and a bunch more, all in one place for one affordable price. Now, Kartra has every tool you need to scale. It's super easy to use. And right now, you can snag a free 30-day trial plus a 20% discount on your first payment when you use this URL. It's www.hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra. Again, that is hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA. So I would say step number one is to identify what it is that you want. So reflect on personal goals, reflect on these things that you want to knock out in your life and get the desires you have. That's not necessarily your North Star. The North Star is kind of like, hey, how do I want to feel in the process? Do you want to pace yourself and feel like, you're more present, or are you in the go-go mindset, hustle mode, and this goes to hustle and flow chart, that whole dynamic. Are you in it for the grind right now? And that's cool. But like, are you in for the pacing? Maybe you have kids like myself. I have young kids. I have a wife, and there's family around me. There's things I want to do here. And I'm not going to go push like I used to before all that came into my life. So reflect on what you want. What are the goals? What are the desires? That's a deeper podcast, or a separate one at least. And then know that these priorities can change over time. So that's step number one is, what is it that you want? So step number two, take action. Start talking to people around you. Start sharing the things that you want, the things that you're deciding. Because if it stays with you in the planning phase, it ain't going to get much further out there. And the dominoes or the universe can't really start to conspire to make it happen, or the dominoes won't knock down as much. So start talking to people, get in groups, start creating media even, podcast, social, put it out there into the world, start sharing this with others. And, interact with folks, get feedback from the people you trust, of course, that it always matters. But put it out there is a big thing. So taking action. And then the third thing is being useful. And this is something that Joe Polish and Mike Koenig's talked about a lot. But a big thing was being useful. How can you be useful to those around you and have this deeper impact so they see your value and they see the importance of you? Doesn't matter if AI is doing its thing, but there's still the human element and you. And then how can that help, knock down more dominoes in your life? Joe Polish talks about this being huge for him. He's one of the most connected, if not the most connected, in this marketing kind of online space that a lot of us find ourselves in. Another thing is he talks about proximity. So being close to people, or checking in and talking with people more often, being that top of mind person, that's proximity. So either physically or virtually, and in the right circles. Step three is be useful, because that's where the doors start opening up. That's where dominoes start falling with ease. And again, you have this direction, you have your North Star, knowing roughly this is the direction you want to go, because if you go left in that kind of direction, that's going to open up all sorts of doors. But if you went and chose right, let's say, and just as an example, well, it's closing off some other doors, but it's opening others. So again, it goes back to step one is knowing what you want, identify what you want, take action on that direction, and then be useful along the way to the right people. Those are the three steps. That's how I see this whole thing of this framework. Back to the Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. This is the practical way I can see you and myself and everyone putting this into action. So to wrap it up here, I would say do a little bit of self-reflection and see how going through these steps, you can kind of, ask yourself, do you know what you want? And that's okay if you don't, but like figure out what is that thing you want, and then start to plan out maybe a few steps. Like what can you do, and start putting into action. I would say think very, ugly action is good. Was it Start Ugly? Chris Krimitsos, a good friend of mine, wrote a book called Start Ugly for this exact reason. Don't get into perfection mode. So figure out how to, map out just a few steps, a few people maybe that you can start talking with in that stage. And then do a self-reflection on yourself and genuinely ask yourself, are you being useful to others around you? You might feel useful to yourself or your immediate family or your close circles, but think about how you can start putting yourself out there to your network and be useful to them So they see your value, and then they are more inclined to start that referral process to give you feedback, but also open doors for you. I'm going to leave you with those. I would love to hear what you think, and let me know what you want to hear more on this podcast. And this whole mindset avenue / practically putting in action is the common things I'm hearing from you so far. So if you go to hustleandflowchart.com/one thing, ONE thing, it's just literally one question survey. I want to hear what you want to see or hear more on the show. And if you wouldn't mind as well, go check us out on YouTube, releasing some videos there, planning some more things. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, all the fun stuff. I always like to hear from you. And until next time, thank you very much. Go be useful and go take massive action. See ya.